مساء الخير على حضراتكم. Panel discussion بعنوان Op Review Real World AI and Cloud Through Data Centers. Moderators Mr. Bruno Bianchi, partner Solsuss. Panelists أو السادة الحضور Mr. Ashley Woodbridge, Field CTO Lenovo. Mr. Islam Mongy, Presales Consultant Aruba Networks. Mr. Ayman Marzaky, Regional Presales Senior Manager KSA and Egypt Dell Technologies. وأخيرا Mr. Mohammad Al-Jallad, CTO and Director UK Ireland and MEA HPE. تفضلوا.
I think we're missing Mr. Ashley, so I don't think he's going to be joining us. So we have 3 panelists here. First of all, I want to thank the organizers for having me moderate. I also want to thank my previous panelists. I appreciate that they talked about AI and cloud and cybersecurity, which is something that hasn't been spoken about in this conference. And AI and cloud and cybersecurity are a big part of the whole ecosystem. So good afternoon. My name is Bruno Bianchi. I'm a partner at Solsuss. We are based in Washington, D.C. We provide cybersecurity consulting. I live in Northern Virginia, so as you know, we are the center for data centers. Just in my city, I have over 100 data centers. So my backyard is basically a data center. We joke around with my staff that if you want to keep warm, all you have to do is just step outside because the data centers will warm you up. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to have a discussion on cloud and AI, and we're exploring the exciting opportunity that AI and cloud technologies within the context of data centers, infrastructure, and particularly focus in the region. First of all, I want to introduce our panelists. If you can really quick just say your name, your title, and your job role for the audience, that'll be helpful. And we'll start with you.
Yes, my name is Islam Mongy. I'm the solution architect for HPE Aruba Networking, part of HPE Enterprise. I'm responsible for the design and consultation for the networking infrastructure for the campus data center and the security solutions for HPE Aruba.
Very good.
I've been working for the company for 9 years now.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. So my name is Ayman Marzaky. I'm a regional pre-sales manager in Dell Technologies for Saudi and Egypt. I've been leading at the team. I think I've been in the pre-sales since we're talking about from physical to virtual to cloud. And then we talked about public cloud, then private cloud, then hybrid cloud, then multi-cloud, then AI data center cloud. So now we reached the AI data center cloud, and I'm happy to share some thoughts around this as well.
Thank you very much.
And my name is Mohammad Al-Jallad. I am a regional CTO in a geo, we call it UK, Ireland, Middle East, and Africa. Been in HPE for above 18 years now. And our job is mainly to, not in the lab, but rather connect the business objectives to the customer requirements, part of the sales organizations. Pleased to be here with you.
Thank you very much. The other thing I want to let everybody know is probably 10 minutes before we end, I'll take questions. So start thinking about questions that you can have for the panelists. So again, our topic today is Op Review, Real World and AI Cloud Data Centers. Let's start with some general questions, and I'll start with Mr. Ayman here. Mr. Ayman, the Middle East is witnessing rapid growth in AI adoption. What unique opportunities and challenges do you see in the region compared to the global trends?
Okay. Well, the opportunity, as you said, is huge. And if you talk about the GDP of digital in general and in cloud and AI in specific, it's going to contribute heavily by 2030. AI is actually taking the world by a surprise from 2021. And we see that the rise of AI is significant when it's come to those last 3 years. We see a potential because Middle East in specific is a young talent by nature. We have a lot of youth. So having so many good calibers when it's come to AI, it's a huge potential. The amount of knowledge and accumulative and hunger to be educated around AI is massive. I can see it in Egypt. I saw it in Saudi and in the entire Middle East as well. When it's come to challenge, I think it's not different than the world. It mainly the energy, sustainability, efficiency, and the talent. Yet, yes, Middle East is a young generation, but the accumulated talent that is required for AI, I guess it's not only in the Middle East, but worldwide is still needed much. The talent that we have in Middle East or worldwide is not enough for the potential that we see in AI. That in a very nutshell and high level.
Very good, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Slam, I skipped you. No. I'll ask that question to you as well.
Okay, so with the expansion of the cloud technologies and the adoption of the cloud technologies inside the Middle East region, maybe the adoption model is a little bit different from the rest of the world, because usually we need to have our data localized with some lot of regulations here. So I think the dependency on the local resources also is very important, and this introduces a lot of demand on the resources as well as the technologies, and the most of the vendors are trying to build some local hubs for resources here inside to fill the gap in the demand for the resources and the equipment as well. So it's there's a lot of potential in this area, and this comes into the technology and the people as well.
Very good, Mr. Mohammad.
Yeah, I think if I look at the Middle East with the wave of the AI and the Gen AI, of course, I believe the most important challenge is to set the right strategy. Many organizations, they need to adopt AI and Gen AI, but they probably lack the right strategy that connects the business outcomes to the results. And of course, I tend to agree, the talents is another challenge. But also before the AI and Gen AI, we need to look into the data pipeline and the people who can avail the data. And of course, when we talk about data, I think there is a lot of restriction on data governance, security. How do you ensure that it's protected? And of course, one of the biggest challenges is to look into the ethical use of AI. How do you ensure that AI is respecting the human privacy, allowing us to prevent misuses, giving us the opportunity to eliminate bias, and create a system where we can challenge the outcomes and being responsible users of AIs. So all of these, I think, are important challenges. And by the way, although we see a huge wave, I think most organizations are struggling into taking this into production scales versus to the global world. That's in a very...
Yep, thank you. One quick follow-up, since my previous panelists, they touched a little bit on cybersecurity. To talk about AI, talk about cloud, data centers, and not talk about cybersecurity, you know, it's part of the ecosystem now, and it's a real struggle and a challenge. So a really quick follow-up on what you said. How does cybersecurity impact you, and what's your perspective of cybersecurity in what you're seeing in the region? I'll start with you, Mr. Islam.
Okay. So the introduction of the cloud technologies and the AI put a huge pressure on the amount of data that is being generated. And inside the data center itself, a lot of data is being generated, and this data must be protected. We'll try to, there is no 100% security, but we are trying to close all the gaps as much as we can. So securing the data inside the data center is very important. AI is all about data, LLM models, all the other models that generates a huge amount of data, and this must be secured. And if the cyber attackers are trying to get the source of the data so that they can do their own analysis. So securing the data is very important, and this had to put some pressure on the infrastructure of the data center. So how can it get secured? There is a lot of traffic that is happening inside the data center. It's not only in and out of the data center. So inside the data center itself, there is a huge amount of data going east-west. So it has to be secured. Also adopting AI technologies inside this security models itself is very important. So all this amount of cyber attacks was not previously existing. So now it has to be attacked, and it has to be tackled and secured, so that the source of data itself must be secured on as much as we can. No 100% security, but as much as we can.
Thank you.
Well, I'll try to summarize, because as you know, it's a big topic, and especially now in cloud and AI, the attack surface, the surface of attack is bigger. So the more it's bigger, the harder to protect. And there is 3 aspects here. 1 is how to protect our data. 2 is what kind of AI and Gen AI use cases that can enhance the cyber resiliency and cyber security. And what if AI and Gen AI is misused to actually do more threats and different threats? So the first aspect is how to protect our data. As Islam was saying, there is a lot of parameters to protect the data within the data center, how to make the data secured. But there is other aspect as well, is what is going to happen when we got attacked. What kind of the recipes and how we can protect our data in an isolated manner so we can come back. Just to give you a recent example, one of the famous hotels in Vegas got hacked maybe, I think a year ago, something like this. And in order to come back, it was a huge ransomware has to be paid. While at the same time, another hotel, but had the different kind of security measures, they come back from this isolated data recovery. So it's not a matter of how to protect from when we get attacked, is what we will act when we are attacked. It's a matter of when, not how. So this is one. The second is how we can use AI and Gen AI for more enhanced security algorithms. For example, there is a company, if I'm not mistaken, in Sweden, are using Gen AI to simulate new attacks that it's not here yet. They are taking the history of the attacks from worldwide, and they are generating and simulating new attacks, so the systems are more intelligent, more robust, and more responsive than others. And I think multiple of companies are doing this. Last but not least, the misuse, and Mohammad was mentioning it about the AI ethics, and I think there is a lot of frameworks, a lot of procedures that are in place and going to be in place to prevent such of misuse of AI and Gen AI in the cybersecurity as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, so if we look at the enterprise of the future, we know it's going to be distributed, right? It's going to be across edge, on-premise, and hybrid clouds, across hyperscalers. And that means a lot of data will be generated from different places. And this is the biggest struggle when it comes to security. And we could look at security when it comes to AI in 2 ways: securing the AI or applying AI for cybersecurity. And the CISOs are not really happy these days, because they're exploring a lot of things. And there are a lot of technologies to ensure ransomware protection recovery. As a matter of fact, even with the topic of supercomputers, the exaflop supercomputers, and the quantum, which is a big, let's say, bubble in the market, a lot of people are really concerned whenever the quantum is going to be coming into production. How do I really change completely the world of security? Because when we talk about supercomputers and the quantum, we talk about crunching massive amount of data, which means hacking a lot of banks' accounts or securities or national securities. So there are a lot of measures, but I think the world is keeping an eye, and we are also, as an organization, keeping an eye and investing a lot in quantum research these days, because we believe that we are now sort of crossing this exaflop systems. I don't know if you know or not, but HPE today powers the world's fastest supercomputers. In 2 weeks, we're going to announce another one. But we are also shifting toward more aggressiveness in terms of Gen AI and AI, and this is where I think most people should really have a close look into implementing strict security rules.
Okay, very good. I'm going to pivot a little bit here. Since we talk about data centers and we talk about power, and I think the conference emphasizes sustainability. So how can data centers in the Middle East leverage AI and cloud computing to optimize energy consumption and reduce their environmental impact? I'll start with you, Mr. Islam.
So using AI to manage the data center is a very important topic here, because sustainability in the green IT and the green initiatives is a very important topic nowadays. So the amount of heat, the actual power consumption that's being used to power these data centers is a huge amount. So using the AI techniques and algorithms to calculate and predict the required amount of power, the adequate amount of power, how can we use this in an efficient way is being actually implemented in some of the data center management tools now to manage the operation of the data center when the peak is expected, based on previous training of what happened on the, for example, past weeks, past months, and training these management tools to properly adjust provide the adequate amount of power. This is a very important topic to be actually it's being addressed now in some of the recent or modern data center management tools to support these green initiatives and the green IT.
Okay, Mr. Ayman?
Okay, so I'm gonna divide the question into two, because cloud alone is a consolidation play, and it helps in consolidation of the power and the heat emission, because basically you are consolidating multiple data center and multiple of the customer in one cloud place. So before AI, cloud was a consolidation place that can help customers to reduce their power, carbon emission, and heat requirements. However, when AI and Gen AI came, AI and Gen AI, by nature, it's a power-hungry workload. And that opened up different aspects to overcome it. One of which, and I think there was a discussion in the previous panel as well, around direct liquid cooling, for example. Right. And direct liquid cooling, the actual assessments worldwide, it's basically a reduction of 25% plus of the power requirements and the heat that's going to be, but that is not enough. What is needed as well is, as Islam was saying, that to use the AI in what we called AI ops, using the AI for the operational and the enhancement of the operation. One of which is to take out the old systems that is taking power and having a heat footprint that is not needed, replace it by the new ones. Apply the proper air cooling methodologies until we go to direct liquid cooling. Last but not least, the green energy of a data center itself. There is multiple of iterations now and multiple of uses of solar powers to power up data centers. And especially in the Middle East, there is a huge potential for this green data centers, because the amount of direct sun light that we have in especially Egypt and Morocco in specific is quite enough to build multiple of the data centers that might be 60 to 80% ready for only green energy. Last but not least, from the carbon emission perspective, there is, and I'm guessing us as Dell or HP or any other technology vendor, we have a mandate and a requirements to minimize as much as we can the carbon footprint on our entire technology to make sure that you can power up more of a workload with the less footprint that we have. But last but not least, the government has to have the framework and the methodology and the payback for the customers that reducing the carbon footprints. I think it's available in EMEA or Europe, but is not conducted 100% here. But there is an actual rebate to reduce your carbon footprint as well.
Thank you. Mohammad?
Well, I'll give you a couple of things, right? There is sustainable IT, and there is IT for sustainability, right? And if we look at sustainable IT, this is how could you create an IT data center which is environmentally friendly and reduce the carbon emission. And as an example only, I'll take the HPE story, okay? Because we did a complete modernization for our data centers around the world, and we reduced the carbon emission by 70%. And there are many measures here that we took. For example, using liquid coolings or using energy efficient green kind of IT. You just mentioned a couple of megatrends, cloud. Cloud could help in bringing the cloud experience, which means you pay per use or you consume on demand what you require, which means reducing power, cooling, space, and actually at the same time contributing to the sustainability. But there are two important things that many organizations miss. When you go to the cloud, you need also to make sure that you don't do lift and shift, but rather modernize the workload using advanced kind of virtualization techniques like containerization or cloud native applications. And of course, you could embrace AI in the sense of AI ops, but also you could always use AI in managing energy systems to make sure you crunch amount of data and you allocate the power correctly. That's the first domain, right? Sustainable IT. The second thing is IT for sustainability, which means how do you leverage the AI and the IT to ensure that you bring some sort of sustainable environment. One of the use cases we're doing with Clean Carnegie Energy is to implement sophisticated AI techniques and to control buoys movement in the ocean to generate renewable sources of energy that we can bring to IT. HPE, for example, as part of our commitment to the climate, we set a goal 2 years ago to source above 50% of our energy sources from renewable sources. And I'm glad to tell you that we hit 52%, which is a way to do things. Now, some people are using this smartly because they could use the heat dissipation from data center, for example, to other uses like a warming swimming pool. It's like you're becoming like environmentally friendly. So you could look at those two aspects, and I'm sure AI and cloud, if you implement them in the right measures, they can really lead to sustainability.
All right, thank you. One thing that came up to my mind is, you know, when talking about this conference, what is driving or what vertical industry is driving the demand for data centers in the region? You know, in the US it's different, and so maybe, I don't know if one of you can answer that question. What industry do you see, vertical industries, pushing the demand for data centers in the region? Okay.
Well, multiple of industries, but the usual suspects. So you'll see telco is building a huge demand when it's come to data center, and also diversifying their business model into becoming a service provider. So this is one aspect. Financial institution with the plans of financial inclusion as well is increasing the digital footprint for financial industry, especially banks. Oil and gas, and I'll copy what Mohammad is saying, that oil and gas maybe have the demand, but not only for the data center, but for the edge computing as well. So the usual suspect that you see, but those are the main driver driving the data center.
Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, well, it varies, right? It depends. Some industries, they could just establish data centers that fulfill their needs, but I think the biggest challenge nowadays is the industries, probably most of them, right? But maybe the leading ones are the finance and the governments and service providers who are trying to embrace or embark on the Gen AI, which is a power-hungry machines. And beside the power, I think they have a challenge in the land and the way to power or cool the system. I think the previous panel, they spoke about the consumption, like one 8-way GPUs only without a system could consume 15 kilowatts in a rack, which is not sustainable, right? Then you need to use other techniques. That's why not every customer will be able to create data centers. And we know the GPUs are shifting toward liquid cool. So that's where we started to see companies creating those data centers where others are probably considering a colo within a country or maybe building their own designs. So it varies depending on the industry.
Yeah, and so to piggyback on that, the next question is, so we're seeing a lot of discussion about AI sovereignty and data localization. How important is it to the region to develop their own AI capabilities and infrastructure?
Okay. The localization of data, let's describe what does it mean actually. Most of the regulations here in the region, which is maybe in Egypt this is a prevailing one, that they try to keep the data local as much as they can. They see some threats in getting the data outside, either by processing or storing for analytics or even just storage. So they are trying to make the data local as much as they can. So and this is a big trend, and I think there is a big initiatives with the government in some of the local governments here in the Middle East region to try to convince the big service providers or cloud service providers, even the big vendors for the IT, is to bring their cloud on the region so that they can have either a local one inside the country or at least being inside the region to serve the data. So this is a big initiative, and I think we are seeing some adoption of this for some of the either the cloud service provider or the big vendors to have their own data centers here. This is maybe this is not prevailing on other regions, but it's in our region. This is of utmost importance.
Very good.
So data sovereignty was always and will be an important subject, one of which is from cyber resiliency and cyber security requirements. Second is the IP of the actual entity or the government, because data is the source of information about this, and data sovereignty is something that is important. But nowadays, data sovereignty is more important actually for two aspects. One is a business potential, because if you see the rise of LLMs, the LLM or the Gen AI will not be as good as if you don't have the proper data. And every entity will have its unique data. So in order to provide a more specific, to the point LLM or Gen AI for a specific entities, it has to be trained on your data. And as you know, if you train an LLM on that your specific data, the knowledge is automatically transferred to this LLM. So it's done. So this is why it's very important to keep the IP within the country or within the region, and then start building slowly our own AI and Gen AI practice to avoid data leakage, to avoid the misuse of your own IP. And of course, there is a certain bias of the data as well. So for now, if we want to build our own IP, it has to be here. Last but not least, in data sovereignty, when you want to build a specific practice, you need, and maybe we'll talk about the challenges later on, you need to have your own data ready. And if you depend or you transfer your data outside, you will not have such practice in your country.
Very good, thank you.
Well, I think sovereignty is one of the hottest topics, right? And I believe if you look at the world, I think Europe, well, excluding US, because US is everywhere, right? So, and they own the hyperscalers, most of them. But Europe started to implement some strict measures. In Middle East, I believe, depending on the country, Middle East was always conservative, which was a good thing. But now we started to see huge requirements to implement sovereignty on the clouds, as well as the AI. And the big players even are complying to these rules and the country regulations. And it's very important to maintain the data within certain proximity because data is so precious, right? And if I define sovereignty, it's like maintaining the environment within certain geo, right? It does not mean complete disconnection from the cloud. We have to be clear about this. But we started even to see something more strict, which is we call disconnected, which means you need to implement the environment completely within your on-prem, completely disconnected from anywhere else. This is when you look at defense, national securities, those strict sites. You start seeing them implementing disconnected clouds, which is, by the way, something we started to avail. We call them fed clouds or disconnected clouds. These are more strict than sovereignty. But I see the market is hot on this topic for governments, for countries, and I think we're going to see more and more, especially with the fact that data will be landing everywhere. So
very good, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What we'll do is now we'll just go direct questions to you guys about your product and how that impacts cloud and AI and computing. We'll start with Mr. Islam. How can Aruba's solutions help Middle Eastern organizations secure the AI applications and data in the age of rising cyber threats and increased remote work?
Okay. Based on this fruitful discussion we had regarding the AI and cloud, so security is one of the major topics here. So we got this idea, and this was in the DNA of HP Aruba since long time, since its establishment long time ago. So security, the data is everything actually. So having the right tools to protect the data is critical, and we understood this early, and we tried to develop some solutions to secure the data inside the data center. And on the campus side, this was previously considered long time ago, but inside the data center with the adoption of the cloud and AI, we had to introduce some new technologies for securing the data inside the data center, and we introduced some innovative security and automation tools inside the data center to secure the communication between the different layers of the applications inside the data center, because the cloud native model of the data center requires a lot of tiers of applications communicating with each other. So we developed some very innovative technologies to secure the data inside the data center, keeping the security of the outside layer to other well-known technologies. But inside the data centers, this is our playground, and we introduced some very innovative data, like, for example, what we call the CX10K switch, which is a top of rack switch that includes a high throughput firewall for securing the east-west traffic inside the data center itself. So we are introducing more new technologies, either using the AI itself and protecting the AI and the cloud native technology inside the data center.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Ayman, how can Dell Technologies support national AI strategies in the Middle East through partnerships with government and educational institutions?
Okay, thank you. So what we did in Dell Technology for AI in specific, we built a practice and a solution called AI Factory. And imagine it in a way, it's an actual factory where you take the data and then you develop use cases at the end. So it's an actual factory, but a digital one. And we take it bit by bit or piece by piece. So in order to develop AI use cases, you need to have the right data. So first of all, we help you to identify the data, how to use this data in such use cases, help you to have the right data engineering platform and data ready, or what we call data sets in AI, and then choose the right infrastructure and architecture, whether this infrastructure and architecture based on NVIDIA, Intel, AMD, or others that come in the future. And then on top of it, it's like a workload that can be in what we call cloud native. It can be public cloud, it can be private cloud, but let's focus on the private cloud. So we built for you what we call private cloud, cloud native approach. And of course, it can be multi-cloud and integrated. And then define or design what we called, and it's needed in AI, what they called MLOps, which is machine learning operations, the way the data center will operate to make AI ready. And then at the end of the day, with the services, you define how to build, operate, manage, and define the use cases, all the way to come up with a valid product of an AI. Because in AI, it's either you build your own LLM, if we're talking about general AI, and this is mainly in government and not for everyone. As you can see, government in UAE, in Saudi, maybe it come to Egypt later, or to use an existing LLM and then what we call fine-tuning, re-educate it, or build an application on top of it. Those three aspects is inside the AI factory, depends on the organization that we are talking about, and finally help you to develop or we build for you the use cases, whether this use cases is a specific use cases for the industry or generic like the content generation, digital assistant, or what have you, built based on various ecosystems from NVIDIA, Intel, AMD, and others players in the MLOps and the use case. So this is in a very high level how Dell technology can help.
All right, thank you. Mr. Mohammad?
Same question.
Same question, yeah. Oh, sorry, no, your question. you're not
How
Dell.
can help?
How can HP's Green Lake platform help oil and gas companies, as we talk about gas and oil, in the Middle East, leveraging AI and cloud for tasks like predictive maintenance?
Okay, thank you for the question. So it's very obvious that the oil and gas industry is very, very profitable. I mean, if even we look at the profit that Saudi Aramco makes, it exceeds the largest companies combined when it comes to profit, which means they do really need to rely on AI and data. But it's no surprise that oil and gas was already relying on models since long times, right, because they are implementing the high-performance computing, which is the ultimate use case for AI since years already, right? And HP brings part of its legacy, a very, very rich supercomputing portfolio. We even did a couple of great acquisitions over the past 7-8 years. Cray, Silicon Graphics, they're all now part of HP portfolio. And we power huge supercomputers. A good example in the Geo, what we do for Aramco, the MAM7 supercomputer, which was ranked number 11 on the world top 500 list. And they could use it, of course, to do predictive drillings. They need to do preventive maintenance. And we implement a lot of use cases around condition monitorings, predictive maintenance on the machines. But I'll give you another public example, which is a bit close to my heart, and I think it's in the States. It's Texmark refinery. So we converted a complete refinery from being traditional, and we called it refinery of the future, because we completely digitalized that refinery and implemented multiple use cases. One of them is condition monitoring, worker safety, geofencing. I don't know if you know the oil and gas, there are a lot of risky areas that could really risk the safety of the workers. So we're using the connectivities, the IoTs, the gateways, the sensors to crunch the data and protect the environment, and as well as increase the efficiency of the utilization. This case is public, by the way. It's been there for many years, so we implemented that, I think, 10 years ago. But we have also others which are not called out as a public references in oil and gas.
Okay, very good. So I know we're running a little bit under time here, so I want to open it up for discussions. Does anybody have any questions for our expert panelists? No questions. I have one question. So talking about cloud, AI, data centers in the region, right? You know, there's a young workforce here. What are the challenges and opportunities that you guys see with the young workforce in the region, and what does that look like for the future? Anybody want to answer that, or you just want to?
Yeah, we can.
All right, we'll just go. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So this brings a lot of opportunities for the young workforce, actually, because taking the point that we discussed about the the need to localize the data inside and then localize the algorithms to be developed here. This requires a lot of resources to be developed in-house, or let's say here, in other words, in-country. And we can see this very, very obvious on the adoption of, actual introduction of measures of AI in most of the, either the computer science or the engineering faculties here in Egypt. I'm talking about Egypt. So this being very obvious, there's expected to be a demand for this, and the young students, if they should seize this opportunity to try to learn the science of the future, to know this know-how, to acquire this know-how, and this is actually being implemented in most of the universities right now.
Very good. Okay.
So I think this question can be divided into two. One, and the most important aspect, is the social responsibility for multinationals and for big companies. Right. And this social responsibility is to work and upskill for the new generation, whether to be there with them in the universities and build the curriculums with the universities that is practical enough to make them ready when they go to the practical life. And actually, this is what Dell has been doing in Egypt and others for maybe the last 10 years. Second is, from the social responsibility, is to take as much as we can in the summer training and others, the interns, and to give them a glance of what the actual life after university looks like when it's come to practical projects in AI, practical project in cloud, and others. So this is from the social responsibility point of view. From the business aspect, there is always a collaboration between the vendors and the clients into onboarding the young generation, or what we call fresh grads. And this is a programs that, in combination between technology vendors and each and individual client, can build, and actually what we are doing in Dell as well, to have a fresh grad ready program, which is usually 6 months program, to give the educational knowledge, the practical knowledge, and a project at the end as well. So by the end of this project, they are ready to operate a data center, or to be ready as a ready data scientist, or data engineering and others. Depend on the practice and depends on the vertical. But in a general advice for AI and Gen AI, it's not different than others. It's based on math, development code, and critical thinking. What the machine will not be able to do even in 10 to 15 to 20 years is the way we think, the way we innovate. So critical thinking, math, and development is something that we need to empower ourselves and the new generation as well to be ready for the next wave. Because in the next wave, the machine will take the decision and we will support them. Nowadays, we take the decision and the machine execute, but maybe in 10 years from now, it will be the other way around. So our mind and knowledge will be the next leap of what we will be capable to do from the technology as well.
All right, thank you.
So I think if I look at the world and the geo in particular, and if I may give like an advice or a humble advice to the new generation, I think we lack a lot of, let's say, hands-on experience. Like a lot of the grads or the interns, they're looking for jobs and they believe that the hands-on is not the future. But I guess when you look at the future, I think we need a lot of coders. I know some countries, they created initiatives like coders and started to pay them off. But if I need to look at the Middle East and search for data scientists who speaks Arabic, I think you count them on the hands if you're lucky. So what I would encourage the team, because they might believe that the salaries are in the managerial jobs. No, this is not the case. We have a huge shortage in the practical experience, and I think if we get more graduates into this field with hands-on, writing codes, writing models, creating whatever is needed for the use cases, especially in the Middle East, I think that is going to be a game changer because the region is doubling down on the investments. There is money, which is good, but we need the users or the people who drive these cars or the vehicles.
Yeah. So maybe government initiatives improve them in the region. That'd be one option.
Right.
Wait, we're out of time here, so I want to thank you, the expert panelists. So let's round a hand, please. And thank you all for attending. Any questions, please ask them directly after this. Thank you.